Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So we've got a new Avatar Legends role-playing game Kickstarter update, and then everything else is sort of addressing some of the more recent rumored information about Avatar Studios that has come up. So Avatar News posted this one, and interestingly, he himself actually marked this one as a rumor because it's not kind of from one of his sources, it's from basically what he's found kind of like elsewhere, other people, as he calls it, the insider grapevine here. So the story here is literally just that the news is saying that the first movie will actually be titled Avatar: The Last Airbender Hidden Kingdom. So, you know, the visuals here is obviously just made up by Avatar News, but the news is literally, I suppose, just Hidden Kingdom. Is this the title of the movie? Does this make sense? Could it work? What are we going on here? Obviously, we have the whole Echoes and Aftershocks situation where this actually was an official thing that was up on someone's LinkedIn. So that is, you know, these words were used officially somewhere in a project somewhere within Avatar Studios. These ones are rumored still, which is more of the case. It's weird to know which way to go with things. I think most people view Echoes and Aftershocks as being, I think, too much of a just generic sequel title. In the sense that, like, okay, you're coming into a movie that is basically reintroducing the characters when they're older to us. It's a bit weird to call it Echoes and Aftershocks when it's like the first movie covering the gang as like adults, and it's going to be about like basically a bit of a time skip since the last time we saw them. So what are the Echoes and Aftershocks that we're kind of talking about here? This would in a way I think make more sense as like a second Avatar movie if it was more of a direct sequel to the first one. But I don't know, maybe it is just a working title type thing, or so Avatar sequel movie or whatever. But anyway, there's that. Hidden Kingdom is in its own way sort of generic by itself, because like you've kind of, in a way you feel like you've heard this title on stuff before. I don't know if it's directly been used on anything, but it feels like, yeah, this is a title for sure. So, Kingdom. Obviously, immediately with Avatar, we think Earth Kingdom, because I don't think we know many other places that actually have world leaders that are referred to as kings. It's not used in the Fire Nation, it's not used in the Water Tribes, and it's certainly not used in kind of air nomad culture. So, it feels like we have to be talking about Earth Kingdom, or territories that are maybe aligned with one of the other nations that aren't the main kind of land masses that we kind of know of. So in the sense that, say, Fire Nation, are we talking about, say, like a kind of more out there on its own fire island that actually has a king and is separate than following, you know, the Fire Lord? Are we talking about an Earth Kingdom island, a Water Tribe island that maybe does things in a little bit of a different way? Going with the idea that Kingdom probably leads you down more of an Earth path. What's interesting about the Earth Kingdom is obviously we have the Earth King from Ba Sing Se, but let's not forget that Omashu has an entire history as being one of the most notable places in the Earth Kingdom, and they also have a king. King Bumi, we know lots of other things from like the Legends RPG about, you know, we had a queen at one point, that there being a monarch basically of Omashu is something that goes back in the lore as well. So I doubt it's Omashu, but it brings up the idea that if there is another king and the Earth Kingdom is so big, maybe there is another kind of, you know, ancient city in the Earth Kingdom that's, you know, pretty low at the time of ATLA that used to be a bit of a powerhouse. Maybe there was multiple kings in the Earth Kingdom, and here is the debut of it in this new movie as they go to deal with that. Maybe it's popped up, maybe it's rose back into prominence with the idea that, you know, they maybe oppose Earth Kingdom territory becoming United Republic, and that's kind of what needs to be dealt with here. there's options if you do something like this. It's one of those ones where like I think it's very difficult to just get overly excited about a title unless the title has like very specific, Avatar terminology in there. It's mentioning characters and what exactly is happening. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Iroh's backstory. Stuff like that. That's very on the nose. It's kind of very difficult to get super excited about it and speculate about what titles exactly mean. But I think it's very interesting that news is beginning to come out about, potentially what the title of this movie is. One very officially that kind of the fandom has kind of latched onto, and then the first kind of like rumored one also starts to hit. Because other than that, we've actually not heard a single rumor about like the title of any of this stuff. So that's just interesting by itself. This is another one that Avatar News also posted. The source is Night Edge Media. Again, so we're getting into this kind of situation now where the insiders on Avatar Studios information are more than just Avatar News. So we're kind of having to become a bit acquainted with more of the kind of key leaker people who might actually have info on things. And so Night Edge Media is one of them, who I think I've referenced before in videos. So this is a Last Airbender Netflix piece of news, and that is that award-winning composer Takeshi Furukawa is going to be composing the music for Netflix Avatar. Now, I think for a while we've basically known that, like, well, Jeremy Zuckerman's not talking about it. I think we'd probably know if he was actually working on it, because that's what we basically had as being the case very early on post-announcement of the Netflix live action. But he was never fully involved in the project because it never got under Mike and Brian far enough into the music needing to happen. So they do have a different composer here, Takeshi Furukawa, who I think should do a good job. They mentioned the Clone Wars as being one of the things he worked on, and Star Wars: The Clone Wars does actually have a pretty good soundtrack. So, though I do believe it's a case like he does some of the music on the Clone Wars, because I think it's more like what Kevin Kiner, I think, is the main Star Wars: The Clone Wars composer, if I remember correctly. So just to keep that in mind. So that should be fine. We're used to we've already had a take on different Avatar soundtrack music with the music that we got in the Last Airbender movie, which actually I think is pretty decent. Like the Flow Like Water track from like the end of the movie is actually, I think, a pretty nice, emotional, kind of stirring, dramatic track. And a lot of the other stuff I think does solid work, and it's a nice enough soundtrack. I think that's one of the few things that I think people came out of it being like, do you know what, this is actually pretty good. So hopefully they find the right balance here of like, doing their own thing while still being referential and sort of feeling like Avatar music. But, just nice to know, nice to get an update on this show when otherwise it just feels like, what are we doing with this show? Like, why don't we know anything about this yet? Like, again, there's still no like visuals really associated with this movie, with series, which is pretty bad. Then we get into some of the other rumored information, and I almost hesitate to even talk about these, but we have this, which again, if you look at the thing, like this is someone who's sort of known for the scoops and stuff like that, I think, and just mentions like, Daddy Yang is coming soon, and then there's another one where like, again, this is the kind of insider information person who posted the info about like they theoretically might know some stuff about what the Earth Avatar show will be about, and mentioning the multiple flying airbenders and energy benders and stuff like that. That's this person who does seem to be a kind of a leaker who is known to have decent information a lot of the time. And so they reply saying all grown up, and the reply is Mami Katara. So the question is like, what is this? Is this just these different leakers teasing the idea of it's going to be young adult Team Avatar in the first movie, or is it referring to like, oh, like Aang and Katara are actually going to be parents in the movie, and that maybe more clarifies when exactly this is going to be set or not? That's what I don't know. And also the whole like coming soon thing is weird, like to say that, because October 2025 is not coming soon in anyone's book. That's still 2.5 years away, which to me is like, so does that mean like they have like a proper like leak coming soon, an info drop that they have coming soon? Do they know about like official information that's going to be announced soon? Because like it seems like there isn't going to be like an investors event this year, so it feels like that February opportunity to kind of drop information has maybe like passed us by. So I don't know, that kind of leaves us maybe waiting until the Comic Cons, which you can't. I don't think you can super make the argument that like SDCC is particularly soon, but you know it's not crazy far away. Um, but yeah, I don't know what to make of these ones, because again, this is where we're trying to get into our heads who are the reliable sources of leaked information, because this is what we're going to be dealing with, especially once we get closer to the actual project, and especially once we start to get closer, and if official information still is as lacking as it is currently, we certainly are going to be dealing with leaks and stuff like this a lot. So just getting into our heads who the sort of go-to people are, who to trust, and then who's just making stuff up. It's a tough one to get at. Now it's a very relatively early point, and in the grand scheme of things, so far I think most of the early leaked information is somewhat reasonable and makes sense, and nothing has felt like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So, so far, so good, but we have to wait and see. Next, we get into the Kickstarter. So, they posted update number 49, shipping and project update. So, interestingly, they do give an apology for the way that shipping has gone. It's getting close to the end. The last region has begun to ship out, and there's still some final EU stuff that they need to deal with, but they are getting towards the end of the project. So that's fine. They do note that the places that they couldn't ship to, and they're at least opening up the door to like, we can work out maybe something to get it to you if you live in any of these countries. So yeah, they want to apologize for those impacted by multiple shipping issues we've encountered throughout the process. Damaged, delayed, lost, the mishandling of the VAT or customs issue that has affected EU in particularly. They're frustrated. We are committed to making sure everyone receives their rewards in good condition, and will continue to send out replacement packages for everyone who needs one. That's good. Our shipping partner for the UK, EU, and US has been the source of many issues in regards to these delays, damages, and errors. Privately, we did several reference checks for the company, and we were assured by industry insiders of the professionalism and capabilities of the company. While our partner was able to address the volume the campaign required, 60,000 in a few weeks, they have not been able to address many of the problems that have arisen in a timely manner. For those reasons, we are working to handle all outstanding orders through new partners or our own warehouses as much as possible. That is good to know in terms of their without, I think, overly calling out the kind of shipping partner that they worked with and maybe really damaging a potential like relationship. They're just kind of being like, we were happy that they could deal with the volume, but they just couldn't do anything else. Like the amount of problems that just didn't get addressed, like from start to finish, the idea that the packaging problem never got solved. Nothing seemed to actually make any progress on the packaging, fixing the quality of packaging situation across the board. That's probably the biggest issue here. So they're working with new partners, their own warehouses. That's good. Specifically with the EU ones, they know even the CEO is working to help resolve these issues, and so on. So that's good to know. Just being, I think, very open and honest about the fact that, hey, things went wrong, and we did the best we could. That, you know, as far as we were told, this company was okay to work with. I'm guessing they're referring to ShipBob here, because the issues, I think, are more definitely on the shipbob side of things. I think people were more worried about, especially on the UK EU side of things, like Hermes. But it seems like most of the issue comes from the packaging, which I think was what ShipBob actually did. And so it seemed like they were unable to in any way adjust once problems started coming in. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, digital assets, the Roll20 stuff. I don't really know what this stuff necessarily is, so we'll just kind of move on for that. They're currently working on other digital assets. Don't know necessarily what that means, but okay. The All-Star Play, everyone's been asking about this. It's in the final approval stage, which it's felt like it's been in for ages. It's not ready, but it will be ready shortly. It can take a long time. It should be available within the next few weeks. Okay. They'll post an update with the details on how to access it in a couple of weeks. The adventure for the actual play is in the process of editing and approval, and you'll get a PDF once it's available. Because that's the other thing that I think's kind of been forgotten in the last kind of couple of weeks with all the shipping stuff going on, is that the All-Star Play is not just like a couple of the voice actors playing the game. The adventure that they're playing through is like a new adventure that we are going to be given. And depending on how you view the canonicity of the adventure setup stuff, there is going to be some extra details in here. I think the one that they did was, I think they did a Roku era one that has like Princess Zaysan in it. So there might be a little bit of new information on that. And we'll see what they do with that. Then, the big thing I think we've all been waiting for is, okay, what about the other books? I know we've just got our current books, but technically we've had the PDFs for months and months and months. We've been wanting some new content. We know many of you have been eager for news on future supplements and other releases. When these products launch, either for direct order or pre-order, we will let you know by posting an update here. That said, stay tuned for some exciting news in the coming weeks for the starter set, which they do reveal here is exclusively from Target, which is a bit of a problem, but we'll address that in a second. And for the Republic City supplement, which is the actual proper like new content for the game. Both of these products have new content for your game, and we can't wait to share the exciting details in the weeks to come. So we're not too far off from actually properly learning more about what's going to be in one of these books. So, you know, it's winding down as they work through the shipping and the final bits and pieces. And there are a few more updates. So obviously a bunch of people, including myself, I'll actually scroll down to what I asked, is this. So I just said, like, you know, I do want to know, is there new lore information? Basically, okay, it's a supplement for the game. What does that fully entail? Obviously, it's going to be a shorter book than the core book, but, like, is there a settings section for Republic City in here in addition to, like, new rules? Does that mean there's specific maps for Republic City? Is there new legends, NPC characters in this? You know, we don't actually know what a supplement for this game fully entails, so they do need to cover that. And then probably the more important one is that, like, it doesn't seem like the supplement stuff is getting a separate, like, Kickstarter, or necessarily is going to be done through the Kickstarter. So I just point out that, like, I am a little worried about the availability of the other stuff in Europe, because the shipping costs on the Magpie website are crazy if you're not from, like, Magpie's region, like America. I did a quick check of basically, like, going through an order just before placing an order, and the core book, which is $50, the cost it comes to is $50, and to Ireland it's plus $45 shipping plus 10 in taxes. So just to get the core book, standard core book, not even deluxe, just on its own, it would be $105. That's an unacceptably high cost. And if they're just putting these supplements out and not offering them from other places, that's a bit of an issue, because this campaign was basically worldwide apart from, like, a couple of excluded countries. It seems weird that the other stuff wouldn't be available. They did reply, you know, someone else said, this is my concern too. Shipping costs and import taxes are high. Because, yeah, and I think even if I ordered from them, it wouldn't necessarily, also factor in customs as well, which customs factors in the shipping cost. So theoretically, a $50 book is suddenly coming to closer to like $150 after everything that's come into play. So they do say we'll have full details, including options for international folks, on the update about its release. So I'm glad that they do clarify that. And there's a few other things that I think people talk about as well. Is international customers getting the starter set, which is the other product if it's exclusive to Target. And they do say as well with this, including options for international folks for that as well. So that's interesting in that, like, that seems kind of contradictory. It's exclusive to Target, but you are giving an option for international people to get it. How does that work? Or is there a different thing between sort of like retailer exclusive, but Magpie are still going to sell the stuff themselves? But the big thing in all of this is that I hope that whatever thing they've come to with their partners, shipping partners, allows them to also work with some sort of a launch campaign for the supplement books as well, and have it work through that as well. Because I think people in Europe accept that the shipping costs are always going to be like somewhat high, but where it is at the moment is not good enough. And so I am a little bit worried that all they're going to do is like, well, technically you can order it from our website. It's not financially good to order it from our website, but you can get it there. Because the availability of the books in terms of like the retail releases happened is not great, especially from a European perspective. I haven't really seen anywhere that's actually like selling the books apart from Magpie. So they need to get this right. And I think despite an overall positive update about like kind of everything, I think we need to keep on them about this stuff. Because I worry that when they get into marketing for this, some of this extra international stuff is going to get forgotten. And in a way, it's a good thing that they're kind of including the build up to the supplement stuff in these updates here, so that people can be on them for like, I want everything from this game, make it available for everyone. Same here, another person being like available from Target. How are we going to get that stuff? And of course, a lot of people pointing out that's not good. That's not fair if you're not going to offer it to everyone. So hopefully that ends up working out. But again, it depends on what's in those books. Like if there's basically no new information in the books, and it's mostly just how to play the game in Republic City. Now, admittedly, I do think to play the game in Republic City, you probably need a little bit of extra information, like a map, details on pro bending, which would probably include like team names and the current teams, and it would be really nice if they had extra bits of lore in there as well. And especially because the second supplement is the Spirit World, I'm very intrigued to see how they go about doing that in terms of characterization of spirits and stuff like that. But yeah, there's that. Final thing is just in case you are wondering about the whole like Republic City supplement that they mention here, because they talk about it as if like all we know is like the title and stuff like that, and we don't know anything else about it. They did actually announce stuff about this at New York Comic Con. They directly made like announcements that it's coming in summer 2023. So they're talking about like there's going to be information on it in a couple of months, but it's releasing in a couple of months as well if it's going to hit summer. And along with this, of course, we do get that Alexandria Monique is doing quite a bit of the new art on this book, and she posted some of it up here, as you can see. So there's the Cora piece, there's the Bolin piece, there's the Varric and Julie piece, and there is the Mako piece as well, and there's probably a couple more in the book as well. These are some of the chapter images. So at the very least, you can get from this, the book, I guess, has at least 4 chapters. I assume one of them will be sort of like new legend NPCs, because I don't believe Mako or Bolin have one in the game so far, so they're going to need one. I assume there will be a Republic City setting chapter, just to clarify that a little bit more. And then specific rules, mechanics may be associated with that. And I'm going to guess there will be one of those bigger like adventure kind of booklet type things included in this as well. That's more of a directed story set in Republic City as well. And you know, I wouldn't, I'd be surprised if maybe there's too much more than that, but just keep in mind that we do actually know a little bit about this, but it's just we don't know fully technically what's in the book. But I think that is it for the video. So let me know what your thoughts are on a lot of these rumors. Is Hidden Kingdom or Echoes and Aftershocks the name of the first movie? We have a composer for the Netflix show. Some very vague teases of, I don't really know what they're trying to say. Do you read anything into these two? And what are your thoughts on the Legends role-playing game as it builds up to the release of the new book? So there are my thoughts. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.